A 30,000-pound message. How the U.S. might be preparing to strike Iran's deepest nuclear site. A 30,000-pound message is hanging ominously over Iran. As Israeli missiles pound suspected nuclear targets, the world braces for what could be the most devastating escalation yet. One bomb, the most feared in the U.S. arsenal, is now quietly being discussed in strategic circles. The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, America's most powerful non-nuclear weapon. This isn't a drill. The Middle East is on edge, and global attention has turned toward Washington. Underground nuclear tensions. The Iran-Israel flashpoint. Recent Israeli airstrikes have reportedly targeted Iran's underground nuclear sites. These are not above-ground facilities that can be easily bombed. They're deep, fortified bunkers designed to survive modern warfare. But recent reports suggest that even these hardened targets, specifically the Fordow fuel enrichment plant, may have sustained damage. The International Atomic Energy Agency has confirmed structural damage to the tunnels housing uranium enrichment equipment. The site allegedly contains highly sensitive materials, including uranium hexafluoride and uranyl fluoride. If containment is compromised, these compounds can release toxic vapors. While the radiation primarily consists of alpha particles less dangerous externally, they become a significant health threat if inhaled or ingested. Fordow, Iran's hidden fortress. At the center of this nuclear standoff lies Fordow, a fortified Iranian facility buried beneath 260 to 300 feet of solid rock. Originally constructed to withstand conventional airstrikes, this underground facility is the crown jewel of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Built in secret and later disclosed under international pressure, Fordow houses thousands of centrifuges capable of enriching uranium to high purity levels. What makes Fordow particularly troubling to the West is not just its location, but what's happening inside. Over the years, inspectors have found uranium enriched to 60%, and most recently, traces nearing 84% purity, just below the 90% threshold required for a nuclear weapon. Iran has claimed it was a technical error, but few in the international community accept that explanation. America's bunker buster, the GBU-57 MOP. There's one weapon on Earth specifically designed to destroy such facilities, the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. Weighing in at 30,000 pounds, this bomb is engineered for one task: obliterating deeply buried targets that ordinary weapons can't touch. The MOP is a behemoth. Encased in hardened steel and equipped with a delayed action fuse, it can punch through more than 200 feet of reinforced concrete or dense rock before detonating. It's not about shock and awe, it's about surgical devastation. One well-placed hit could cripple Fordow's core, potentially knocking Iran's nuclear program back by years. But it's not just about the bomb. The delivery system matters. The B-2 Spirit, silent, stealthy, and deadly. The B-2 Spirit is a marvel of military engineering. Designed to evade radar, this stealth bomber can slip into heavily defended airspace undetected. It's capable of carrying 2 GBU-57s at a time and flying missions, lasting over 40 hours with mid-air refueling. What makes the B-2 so formidable isn't just its stealth, it's the way it enables the U.S. to project power anywhere in the world, including deep inside Iran. These aircraft are currently stationed at bases with striking range of Iran, including strategic locations in the Indian Ocean. If a strike is ordered, these bombers can launch, strike, and return without ever touching foreign soil. That's critical in an operation as politically sensitive as this. A low-visibility, high-impact strike carried out from 50,000 feet above ground would offer maximum strategic payoff with minimal footprint. Why Fordow matters more than ever. Fordow is one of 7 known nuclear sites in Iran, but it's by far the most secure and the most alarming. The facility's capacity to enrich uranium to high levels places it at the heart of Iran's nuclear ambitions. The enrichment process, especially at levels close to weapons grade, is a red line for both Israel and the United States. Under the 2015 nuclear deal, Iran agreed to cap enrichment at 3.67%. When the U.S. withdrew from the agreement in 2018, Iran resumed enrichment. Since then, Iran has steadily increased its capabilities, stockpiling enriched uranium and enhancing its centrifuge technology. If Fordow continues operating unchecked, many analysts believe it as only a matter of time before Iran achieves breakout capability, the point at which it could build a bomb within months. Israel's limits and America's responsibility. Despite having one of the most advanced air forces in the world, Israel faces limitations. Its jets and munitions, though capable, cannot reach the depths at which Fordow operates. The sheer amount of rock and reinforced material makes it impervious to conventional strikes. This is where the use comes in. The GBU-57, delivered by a B-2, is one of the few military options that could neutralize the threat. But such a strike carries massive implications. Would the U.S. be willing to cross that line? Risks of a U.S. strike on Fordow. If the U.S. decides to use a bunker buster on Fordow, the geopolitical consequences would be immediate and severe. Regional war. Iran has warned that any attack on its nuclear facilities would provoke a full-scale retaliation. U.S. bases across Iraq, Syria, and the Persian Gulf would likely come under fire. American troops and assets in the region would be vulnerable to missile and drone attacks. Economic fallout. The Strait of Hormuz through which a significant portion of the world as oil flows could be blocked or mined. That would spike global oil prices and destabilize global markets. Political ramifications. The strike could fracture international alliances and complicate relations with allies who still support the JCPOA. Russia and China may condemn the move, adding fuel to an already tense global climate. Radiation risk? Minimal, but not zero. One of the key concerns with striking a nuclear facility is the risk of radioactive contamination. Fortunately, Fordow's depth means that the immediate risk of airborne radiation spreading is low. The site is surrounded by rock, which could act as a natural containment barrier. However, if uranium compounds are released internally and ventilation systems are compromised, the situation could be hazardous for personnel on site or nearby communities. Still, the greater fallout would likely be political rather than radioactive. Strategic messaging. Watching Whiteman Air Force Base. All eyes are on Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, the home of the B-2 fleet. Military analysts and intelligence agencies are tracking any unusual activity. If those aircraft take off, the message is clear. The U.S. is prepared to cross a critical threshold. Unlike traditional warplanes, the B-2 South don't require forward operating bases. They can fly to Iran and back with aerial refueling, execute the mission, and return home unseen, undetected, and unchallenged. The strike, the damage, and the consequences, all of it, would unfold silently. From 50,000 feet above a mountain, hiding a nuclear secret. Diplomacy hanging by a thread. While military options remain on the table, diplomacy is far from dead. Behind the scenes, talks continue in Vienna and other European capitals to revive elements of the nuclear deal. However, Iran's enrichment progress and Israel's growing impatience are tightening the noose. The U.S. administration is walking a tightrope balancing domestic political pressures, international expectations, and military readiness. A strike on Fordow would be unprecedented, but it's not unimaginable. Final word: deterrence or destruction. The GBU-57 IMAP is not just a weapon, it's a statement. Its very existence sends a message. No target is too deep, no facility too secure. But deploying it means committing to a path with no easy exit. Will the U.S. pull the trigger? Or will the threat alone be enough to bring Iran back to the negotiating table? In the game of high-stakes nuclear diplomacy, the line between deterrence and destruction grows thinner by the day.